way to teach a horse to bow is to have them go right down onto the ground with one leg. So to do this, you want to pick up their, well first you want to make sure they can back up really well just by touching their chest. So you want to be able to touch their chest really lightly, just like a light touch the hair, like that. And they just back off that pressure right away. That's what you want. And in order to get that good of a backup, you have to make sure that you have clear phases. So you want to have a halter on them, I guess. And so the first phase would be just a light touching the hair, like this. So you want to lightly touch the hair, and then you want to touch the skin, a sudden phase, and then harder and harder. So they've got to be really distinct phases. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So really distinct. So I'd be phase 1, 2, 3, 4. And then make sure you rub the spot after you're done, just so that they realize that they're not in trouble or anything, and it's just, they did well by responding. So basically, the insensitive, you want the phases to get harder and harder, because you want them to realize that if they do not respond at a nice light phase, then it's going to get harder. And you want them to realize that they do not want that hard phase. So if I do a really light one, hard, hard, harder. Good boy. And the next time, he'll respond a lot quicker at the first phase because he does not want that hard phase to come. So see, I'm putting my hand here, and then it goes right off that. That's what you want. And of course, as soon as they respond, you release, so they know that they did the right thing by release. Because when you release, it shows them they did the right thing. And if you don't release right away, then they'll think, oh, I'm doing the right thing, I'm backing up, and yet they're not releasing, so what's the point of even trying? And you don't want them to think that. So after you have the backup really good at a nice light phase, you want to lift their leg up. And then you want them to, you're going to put your hand on their chest at that light phase again, and you want them to shift their weight backwards. And you just want to ask a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to, you just want a little shift, and then you will release as soon as they shift their weight back, because you want them to figure out that that's the right thing. So the quicker you release, the quicker they will learn what to do. So I'll put my hand on his chest, and as soon as he shifts his weight backwards, I'll release to show him that he did the right thing. There, he started to go backwards. Good boy. And then you can give them a bit of a treat, or you can pet them, whatever, just to give them a bit of incentive. And you want to make sure that you only, that you only release the pressure on their chest. You release it before they take a step backwards. Like if I'm asking him to back up with his chest, and he starts moving all of his feet backwards, you don't want him hopping backwards while you're holding his leg. You only want him to shift his weight backwards. So if they start hopping backwards, continue holding this leg, because if you release when they're hopping backwards, they're going to think that they did the right thing by hopping backwards. You want them to realize that the right thing to do is to keep their legs still in one spot. And you will only release when they're doing that. So I'll ask them, nice and light, back. See, and he's shifting his weight without hopping backward. Good boy. So again, if your horse starts hopping backwards, that means you're probably asking too much. You only want a little bit. Just ask a little bit. There, good boy. So if you ask too much, you're just going to keep going backwards and start hopping back. So you just want them to, the slightest shift of their weight backwards, you want to reward them and let go to show them they did the right thing. Then over time you can build on that and do more and more backwards. You don't want to do too much in one session. Just take your time with it, whether it takes a couple weeks or whatever. Good boy. He just wants a treat, so he's doing tricks. And then eventually you can ask for more and more. So once they can figure out to shift their weight back a little bit without moving their feet, and then you can do a little bit more. And then eventually you'll get down to like that. Good boy. So just take your time with it. Ask for just a little bit of a shift. Good boy. And then just build on it more and more. But don't ask too much at once, otherwise they're not going to understand. They're going to start hopping backwards. And you want to make sure that you release as soon as they try. That's really important, because comfort is a lot of incentive to a horse. So you need to give them that release and comfort as soon as they try. Then you can build on it as they start understanding what you want.